Hi, and welcome to the Always the Bad Guys podcast. In this episode, Emmett and I discuss the new direction that we're going in with Always the Bad Guys. Plus, we go into more details about the new project we're working on that we mentioned in the last episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to our second new brand podcast. Hopefully, if you heard the one previously, we discussed this new project that we've undertaken, and we thought we'd elaborate a little bit more on it. And now we've got a bit more idea on what we're going to do, and we've got some confirmation, and kind of fits well with our new branding, our new sort of direction. So we had this plan a little while back, didn't we, to investigate some. Well, I did, I suppose. I suppose it sort of spirals back a little bit further, doesn't it? Because we both. I had this plan to do something in regards to not an event, a resort type training facility thing, which I've been investigating for a few years now, and then me and Elias both attended a firearms course in the Czech Republic. I think mine was 10 years ago. Does that mean yours was slightly longer?
I think I did mine after, I think it's like 7 years ago. Shall I say first?
Go for it. Yeah. You run your story and then...
Yeah. Basically, I went to Czech Republic to go and do my CP course, and whilst I was doing it, it was a really good one, really good, like far more in depth than a lot of the UK ones.
Yeah.
And it was a really good experience. And whilst I was on it, I always said this would make an amazing holiday.
Yeah,
people would pay to do this just for the fun. And I think a lot of the costs in doing that course that I did were due to qualifications needed.
Yeah.
The administration costs of
being SIA accredited, etc.
Accredited and all this kind of stuff. And even before we met, I always would say, "Oh, that would be a great thing to go and do." So we stayed in contact with the guy out there that runs the firing range and some of the other elements, that were involved in that course. And more recently, we'd started speaking about maybe we could put together like an experience, for people to go out and have that experience.
Yeah.
And the reason being that we think it builds into all of this
character building
that we were talking about in the last podcast, and it would tie in nicely with what Always the Bad Guys was about, still is about, but maybe in a slightly different way. Now that we could make this accessible to everyone, we don't want it to be just a CP course for security people. We want it to be a experience that anyone who's interested in that kind of stuff.
And then I suppose the way I say, I had this vision a while back, and then I went and did my CP course in the UK, did it in London with a very good company, and then I think maybe a year afterwards, I was contacted by those guys, the course themselves, because they were investigating firearms elements to their course, and I think ultimately they didn't take it up because they didn't see the necessity for it for the UK side of things, which is fair, makes sense. But I went to the same training facility you went to. I met the same instructor and the same owner, and undertook a very. We probably did a very similar amount of firearms training, but we didn't do we'd already done our CP course, so we didn't undertake the extra bit. So we were out there for a few days. And then we sort of got on really well with the guy who runs the place, and obviously you've maintained more contact because you had a lot longer with him. And so we've developed this relationship with him, and he approached us a few months back to see if we'd be interested in becoming involved with him in some way, shape or form. And so we've kind of developed this project that what we would like to do is create an attainable package where people go and experience. They learn how to use, because obviously something in the UK you don't get to do a lot. You learn the safe use, the fundamentals, and you get a few days on a firing range, predominantly with sidearms. He has mostly, I think, which again is something that's very unattainable in the UK.
Well, I think it's worth noting that, to step back a bit and go, and there were times, we're still working this out.
Yeah.
But there was a point where we were thinking maybe 90 Degrees could provide training. So it would be more along the lines of security-related training.
For security personnel.
Yeah. Then things have changed, and we thought, well, maybe what would be better and something we're probably more interested in is adapting it so that it is, we keep using the word experience.
Yeah.
Because that's all we can really think to sum it up at the moment. And it's like, yes, the firearms part of it is a big part. That's the thing that draws a lot of people's attention. For me, when I went and did my course, I've always wanted to shoot a gun, in that way and do that kind of thing. It is fun, so that will draw a lot of attention, but we want to have a rounded, which we're still working these parts out, but we want to have a rounded experience. So the firearms part will be one bit. There'll be multiple different elements
to it, and we can add things in. And I say I've had this. My thoughts on things are that we add in. We with the facility that's there. There's the ability to create scenarios, to put people in positions that they've not necessarily been in before, to put them under a bit of pressure, to put them under, in an environment that they're uncomfortable with or unfamiliar with, which all goes back to this resilience type mentality of being able to operate and do things that are just a little bit out of your comfort zone. And that was kind of what we did when we were there. There was things that we did that were out of our comfort zone. But it was, a really good experience for me to go and do it. Same, we did predominantly the firearms training, but we did go off and do other things, and it was a quite a eye-opening experience for me. Because I say, I'm from a civilian background, you're from a civilian background. We've never had the opportunity to be on a firing range in that capacity, and since doing it, I went. It gave me the confidence when I was travelling abroad and stuff to attend other firing ranges and try and keep that, because it's one of those skills that you just never have the opportunity in the UK to get.
Well, here's something I just thought is that I remember years ago. I was in the TA.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Of course. Yeah.
And I did a few years in the TA and stuff. And I remember there was one time where one of the sergeants or something goes to us like, "Why did you join?"
Yeah.
He's like grilling us or something. Yeah. And people giving their answers to serve my country and the kind of things. And I was like, well, I joined to challenge myself, to test my limits.
Yeah.
The TA ultimately didn't end up providing what I was expecting or wanting it to, because we spent a vast majority of the time doing drill, marching around.
Yeah.
And
ceremonial
stuff, PowerPoint presentations.
Yeah.
And we didn't do much soldiering.
Yeah.
Every now and then we'd kind of do those things, but all the sort of stuff that you would expect of the army and the military, I found, in my experience, there was very little of it.
Yeah.
So I came away from that feeling very unfulfilled. And then years later, through whatever circumstances, I ended up doing this CP course. That course provided what I had wanted from that. Yes, there was the firearms stuff. 4 days, I think we did on the range, and we were out there a month.
Yeah.
So a small section of it. We did the medical training.
Yeah.
We did map reading.
Yeah.
There was days where we were driving cars around some abandoned
Mill,
yeah. Getting to just sort of like mess around with them.
Yeah.
J-turns and things.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the good thing I think about that is that you never get that opportunity legally, really, in the UK to throw a car around and test its limits, see where it stands, see where you stand with that. We had to be self-sufficient. We were being taught to be, because that's part of ultimately what proper CP work is to, you are the responsible adult for someone else.
Yep.
You have to look after yourself and you have to look after them. So it was teaching you to look after yourself in all of these ways. There were many other elements that, you know, I'll be all day explaining, but sometimes it was the little things, not being on the range.
Yeah.
It was the little experiences that we had that I found the most formative.
Yeah.
And I think that really changed me as a person coming back from that course. And, you know, it made me a better, more capable
person.
That was a real, like, point in my life, I think.
Yeah.
And my background, I'm sure I've mentioned before, is creativity and arts. You know, I made music, I was like a DJ, that was my background. But I always had an interest to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But other than the military,
there was no avenue.
There's no avenue really to get that experience. So that's why we're thinking, if we offer this experience, people from all walks of life have an opportunity to get that. And it's not that we're going to say no to people that are in security industry or ex-military. Everyone's welcome, but what we're thinking at the moment is that we don't want it to be that cliche kind of like, we wouldn't want to like 9 ex-mil guys there, or security stereotype people there, you know, that would put off maybe the ex-DJ that wants to
of course,
people who seek and want adventure.
And I say, like, my thoughts on it were, say, like, I look at it from a structure perspective, and obviously there's a lot more opportunity, and we've got a lot more the ability to implement a few things that we wouldn't be able to implement over here, because obviously we could do certain things in the UK, but there's some limitations. There's a lot of limitations. But obviously with the link to our Czech friend who, you know, is offered this opportunity, he's got a lot of connections there to make this into a really good, well-rounded experience. And I think one of the things that I'm keen to get involved in it with is that obviously there's the opportunity to spend a couple of days on the range, and because I mean the first time I ever shot a sidearm, I was taken aback on how difficult it is, how how it's not like a movie, you know. And you know, after a couple of days of instruction, you know, got reasonably okay, got proficient, got, you know, understood the safety element of it, and then the other element that I think is really important for us to put on is obviously the first aid element that we've all over varying different courses and training courses, and you know, with years of experience, you do eventually, you know, you get to the point where you feel comfortable dealing with first aid situations. But I think having that involved in what we're going to do out there is really important. We can bring, you know, the plan is to bring an instructor out and show people, especially when dealing with firearms and traumatic injuries, have a focus on that, because there's a lot. They say there's talk, you know, in some respects, this might hark back a little bit to the UK side of things, but obviously there's some new legislation coming in the UK, or potentially coming in, depending on how you look at it, with the protect duty and things. And one of the things they did actually want to put in the new protect duty was all the door supervisors get first aid training, but they have, like, from as far as I understand, and it might change, but they wanted that first aid element. They wanted to add the ability to deal with traumatic injury, because your first aid course, your 1 day first aid course, or even 3 day first aid course, doesn't cover that. So the plan for things like dealing with tourniquets and the understanding how to deal with traumatic injury isn't included in that. And this protect duty wanted to add that. And as far as I understand, there was a podcast going on with it that I listened to that they sort of scrapped that idea. But outside of that, there's talk of doing that sort of thing in schools and stuff. So I think having that element added into our experience would be really beneficial to people, because obviously it's something that most people don't understand or don't know or have never had experience doing. So adding that element in. So it's not all about going out and shooting in the Czech Republic. There's some learning involved, and there's some experience involved, and
well, for example, like say the shooting element of it. There's first of all, with anything that we offer on this experience, it's not a course. It's not like you're going to walk away with a qualification.
No.
So I think, but there's things to be gained from doing those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Like all you do when you go on a course is you do it, and then you just have to prove that you know how to do it at the end, and then that's enough to get a box ticked.
Yeah, so you can get a job or whatever. And
but I think there's a lot of people out there that would like to experience those, learning some medical, information, because that's a big thing in my life that I've seen. My medical qualification is not, it's like basic, but I've had a lot of experience implementing it on jobs over the years to where I'm not scared to do it. And when I'm in certain situations in day-to-day life, I don't flap. And I think that and I see people flap because they've never come across that.
They've done it in a classroom, or they've done it in like a controlled environment.
Or never at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. If you're not in our industry, if you're a person who works in retail, you never, and I don't mean retail security, I mean like as a member, works in a shop.
Staff. All like sorts of people.
If you walked out into the street and someone had been hit by a car, and you're like, oh, complete absolute panic.
But even I've seen it when it's not major.
Small
injuries,
stuff. Yeah,
small stuff.
Things like when someone's bleeding, and we had an incident outside of Greg's, didn't we, in Bristol, when we walked out when there was a homeless guy, and he wasn't profusely bleeding. He'd cut himself, and the 20 people that were trying to help
were flapping
because there was
blood.
There's blood.
Not tons of blood.
No,
that's the example I was going to give. Is like we've had many incidents throughout our career where we've seen this is the first smallest sight of blood.
Oh,
say for example, like we work with like stewards and things, and they'll radio through. They're bleeding really badly, so we're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And we get there, and it's like a small cut.
Yeah.
People's perception of what is bad.
And
it panics them because they've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Or they don't know anything about the unknown is scary, basically. And I think we're thinking, the medical side, that's just a good experience for people to have. They can take it into their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, and even from a perspective of like being self-reliant, like you say, there is there's a requirement sometimes that you have to look after yourself or your close family. If one of your family gets injured, you're a more capable, confident person if you know that wound is not arterial spray. It's a wound that needs some pressure and go to hospital and get stitched up. And then and obviously like I've always wanted to add in a little bit of like physical conflict for people. That was one of my plans before we got the opportunity to link up with the guys in the Czech Republic, and they've got quite a lot of ability to facilitate that. And because again, having this thing of like most people massively overestimate their capability in a physical confrontation, and we don't mean like it doesn't even have to be in a fight. Sometimes I mean like but again, in a situation where things get heated, if you've got a little bit of confidence in your ability, if you've been put in a situation where you've had to deal with conflict for a few minutes until assistance arrives. You understand how hard that is, how exhausting it is, how mentally exhausting it is, how physically exhausting it is. So if you're put in a situation where, where in a controlled environment, you have to deal with that for 4 minutes, you'll soon realize how quickly you get exhausted, and, how things don't go the way you think they're going to go in your head when you play it, right? If this guy walks up to me and does this, I'm going to do X. No, you're not. You're going to roll around on the floor for 4 minutes and be absolutely knackered.
Well, it's funny because it goes both ways. Like, sometimes I come across people that are unnecessarily scared of aggression.
Yeah.
And then another time I come across people that are like overly
confident. Yeah.
So, the first one would be, I told you that story once about my mate who we were walking in Brighton one night.
Yeah.
And there was like a fight happening across the street, and he was like scared.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh man, we need to kind of cross the road." And I was like, "No, this is fine.
Yeah.
Trust me." Like, from knowing the psychology of like aggression,
the bravado. Yeah.
But because it was like the bark is worse than the bite. The display of it all was quite intimidating. But through my experience of seeing violence and aggression, I had a better judgment on it than him, purely through exposure over the years. Then the other flip side of the coin would be, I've heard people going, I'd just like bang him out and whatever. I was like, no, you would, trust me, like after 1 minute, you'll be so gassed.
Yeah.
Because I've had numerous occasions where I've not been in a fight. I've been
to restrain somebody for
dragging someone out of like a club or something, and they're not fighting you; they're just resisting and they're tussling. And it only went on for like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
seems like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but after that 2 minutes, I'm so out of breath I couldn't even radio through the for assistance.
Yeah.
And that's quite humbling. You go, oh, it's not going to be like in the films where
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of my thought processes. We've got the ability to facilitate a little bit of simulated aggression, simulated like conflict, put people in a position where they've never been. Because again, most people, like I say, the security industry obviously has a small element of physical altercation, and everything can be settled with words, kind of thing, blah 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 blah. But there's always a time when you have to, people do have to be removed from venues, or they, fights break out and you've got to break it up, and and you are, I think that it is quite humbling to a lot of people when they realise, oh, that's hard work. That.
Well, the funny thing I find is that we've spoken about this loads. Before I'd done any security work or the training, for the years building up to that, I've mostly been a DJ. So I've been in the club tons. And there were a good few occasions, a couple I can remember, of where customers have got aggy with me because maybe I didn't play their song or something, you know. And, they were like a big guy at times. And they were up in my face shouting at me. And I knew that I had to keep, I couldn't show my fear. Because, if I show it, then it could, But inside I was crapping myself.
Yeah.
I now know unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that, like, the thing I've learned is the situations that I would worry about back then didn't need to be worried about. I didn't need to worry about.
Yeah.
And vice versa. The ones, and I see that a lot with people where they're kind of like relaxed. I'm like, this is dangerous. We need to get out of here. This is, oh no, it's fine. I'm like, no, that is a really dangerous person right there. That is about to snap at any minute and could do some real harm. And then another time when there's someone who's just, again, the bark is good. And they're really scared. I'm like, you don't need to be scared of that. But again, I think it's, if we can offer on this course, like you say, some
scenario-based stuff.
It.
Yeah, scenario-based stuff, We're not looking to put people in boxing rings and that kind of stuff, but you put it in more like real-world context, like, you in your car, or you're on a bus, or, you're in a stairwell or an elevator, and you end up like being in a position where you're like, oh shit, this is a really bad situation. If you've been in that situation before, or you've had some level of like aggression portrayed to you, and you understand, and if like there is a physical element, like, what's it known as combatives type training, where people can. I'm not really interested in trying to like make it into like a martial arts thing. Obviously, like and you Krav Maga stuff, and because in 3 days, in 3 days, you're never going to learn what you need to learn. But what is really useful to learn is when someone grabs hold of you and you end up on the floor and dragging each other around, like how exhausting it is. Exhausting for you, but exhausting for them as well.
Well, I think the thing that we can give a taste of and maybe make some change in 3 days is the mindset thing.
Of course, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So you can't teach. This is how to get out of a that takes
it takes time,
repetition,
you have to drill those things a lot. You have to and again you want to be able to put people in a position where their basic instinct is not to freeze up and not do anything.
Yeah,
we're not going to teach people how to punch properly. We don't want to teach people how to do like martial arts stuff, and like I'm a big proponent of like jiu-jitsu and MMA and stuff. But I do that as my hobby, and like so you learn that stuff over and over and over and over again, and you get a little bit of muscle memory but like one of the biggest things I take away from that thing, from doing like jiu-jitsu classes or whatever, is being uncomfortable, being in an uncomfortable position. You don't have to be a black belt, in jiu-jitsu to understand that, like, being on the ground with a big dude on top of you, like trying to like wrestle with you, like that's quite normal for me now, because that's what I do on a Wednesday night, and so when that happens, or if that happens in an uncontrolled environment, you're not as terrified of it. Because you've kind of simulated it a lot, and you've done that. So I'd like to be able to implement a little bit of that into it.
I think it's also good what it allows you to do, because we did on our course same sort of thing. The guy taught us some stuff, but he basically goes, right, do a scenario now.
Yeah.
Just wrestle.
Yeah.
And it lets you learn your limits.
Yeah.
So I know what I am and what I'm not capable of.
Yeah.
And that's really good, because then you can apply that to real life and go, this is something I'm not going to be able to do.
That's the guy I'm not going to wrestle with. Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. But I think maybe we'll take a quick break, and there's some other things that we want to mention.
Yeah, because we've got a lot
to talk about.
We've got a plan, haven't we, for the first phase of things. So we'll do a break and we'll delve into that, and we could probably do another 3 podcasts on this.
True.
So, but yeah, we've got an initial plan. That we want to chat about. So
there's more to talk.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Cool. See you in a bit.
Right. Well, so we've probably got a little bit more fleshing out to do of our plan in regards to something deliverable. Because again, with that, I like, one of the things that I suppose leads on to this bit is that we do have the opportunity to add in some other things like a driving element. The guys over there have got space for vehicles to be used, and so we can always say like, it's always been interesting, putting people in, even in a vehicle, putting them under pressure on how to do things in a car, and kind of gives the people the opportunity to kind of go a little bit like do the things that they want to be able to do in a car, and which kind of leads on to our first phase, doesn't it? Really.
Well, what I was going to say, I think it's worth going into a bit first, is those are the kind of very action-y elements of the course. We're still working stuff out. It's all due for change. It could evolve into something else, but we want it, I think, also to be pleasurable. It's not just going to be like, right, you go out there and you get beasted for like...
you're going to learn to shoot and get beasted and do this, that and the other. Like I say, the intention is for it to be an enjoyable experience. One of the things I found with the guys out there is that like they have the ability to beast you, which I think you guys got a lot more of than we did. Whereas with us, there was a little more... It was more of an experience for us to go and do it, and they toned down the running miles and carrying logs and
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff. So,
but I think also in like we want to introduce elements of, because again on mine, like we get up and we do some exercise in the morning. We do like yoga and things.
Yeah.
You know, and okay on ours because it was like essentially I think there was a cost.
Yeah.
A lot of the costs had to go into you know accreditation. We're thinking like we stayed in like a hostel.
Yeah.
And we're sort of thinking, well, people that would come to this would probably want to stay in like a decent hotel.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, you know, we're thinking, want it to be like a holiday experience as well. So there would be, you know, that's why I say it'd be pleasurable in that not just being beasted.
Yeah.
You go there, you have like a nice accommodation, you eat well.
Yeah,
you have, you know, there's like relaxation elements
to it as well.
Because I think they are all part of the mindset thing, the well-being thing.
Yep.
You know, it's good to challenge yourself, but it's good to look after yourself as well. So
that's it. And I think that's one of the things that we will pick up on our. That's one of the things we're going to explore with the guys out there a little bit when we go out. So which kind of leads us on to our first phase, doesn't it? Really, like.
Yeah.
So the plan so far, there's no details yet, but I think what we're going to do is at some point in the very near future is me and you going to go out and go and see them, go see the guys again, and we've kind of developed a little bit of a plan. So we've been, as far as the initial phase is that we've been asked to bring some vehicles out to the Czech Republic, and our plan is to do so. We're going to have X amount of vehicles go out. Me and you will document it and do that kind of thing. And the first initial plan is we're gonna go and do it. We're gonna.
Well, it's a bit of like a recce, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll have the meeting with the guys out there. We'll like scope, because it's been years since we've been there.
Yep.
See what they can offer, what they can provide.
Yeah, there's been improvements and things added to the facility and everything, and
yeah.
So we want to go and see it and get eyes on, we're essentially going to go and do this trip. We didn't really have a fixed plan, but I think we've got a little bit more of a structure to something we're going to do now, and we've been requested to bring some vehicles with us. So we're going to do that. We're going to drive them out. We're going to go see the guys. We're going to. I think from a perspective of always the bad guy stuff, we'll document that kind of stuff, our journey out and the sort of the trip over, because it'll take us a few days to get there in these vehicles. We were going to fly, but we've got equipment to take with us, and all this stuff to take with us. We're prior to the vehicles being requested, we were going to drive. We decided we were going to drive anyway. And me and you were going to document our journey out. We'll do try and keep people updated on the behind the scenes kind of bit of it, and then we're going to go out and we're going to get on the range and do that. That was our plan. It's been a bit fleshed out now.
Well, it's basically looking like we're going to need some people to come with us to drive.
Yeah,
these
essentially,
vehicles.
yeah. So,
and we're thinking, well, that could be a good opportunity to test,
showcase the. I mean, I suppose the actual experience that we want to do as a package is not going to be that, but it will show the facilities, it will show the experience, it will show so we're going to I suppose the next plan is these vehicles that are going out. Say we're going to take 4 with us. We recruit ourselves 4 capable humans, or people who think they're capable humans that would love to come and drive out to the Czech Republic with us. It'll take us a couple of days, and and in return, they'll get an opportunity to do a day on the range, see the facility out there, see the other things that are available out there. The driving areas, the areas for the shooting training, the firearms training, and And yeah, so and I mean, obviously we're not going to be throwing in first aid training and stuff yet, but I think for those 4 bodies that want to come with us,
well, basically, I think they will help us work out a lot of what it's going to be,
Yeah,
because there's ideas that we've got that probably we will find won't work, so they won't end up happening. There's ideas that we don't know about yet that by doing that journey, it will probably highlight it and go, that's great, we can offer that.
Yeah.
So the people that come with us will end up getting a version, and they will be like fundamental in forming what it becomes.
They'll be our beta testers.
That's it, yeah. So it's like, you know, we're looking for, at the moment it looks like 3 people to come out with us. And, you know, essentially they will drive the vehicles out with us. They'll go on this road trip.
Yeah.
You know, we'll get there. Like you say, in exchange, they get to have like at least a day on the range.
Yep.
You know, experience some of the things that are out there.
Yeah.
And then most likely be flown back.
Yeah. Because those vehicles are for the facility. So yeah, we're flat. I think the sales pitch is essentially a road trip to the Czech Republic, accommodated on the route, you know, accommodated at the range or somewhere within the vicinity of the range with us. A day on the range, a day doing some other experience stuff, go around and see what else is going on there. There was some talk of driving training. There was some talk of helicopters. So
because we're going to be out there as well to film promotional content to promote the course. You know, so
and the guys
good stuff will be happening.
The guys seem to want to put on a good show. So we'll get that done. I suppose like the prerequisite for people that want to come, there isn't really any prerequisite, is there really? You don't have to be from any background or, you know, ability or anything, because I said the training is fit. You know, the firearm side of things is for people who are novice, never done it before, and can get the first experience. So that's not an issue. Obviously, you need a driving license.
That's, I suppose, the technicals we would say would be like, it's looking like what will happen is you need a driving license and be able to be insured on a vehicle to drive out.
Yeah.
To check, you know,
driving license, the ability to be insured on the vehicles, the confidence to drive on the wrong side of the road is one, because obviously that's one that, you know, we've done a lot of that, but not a lot. No, there's people out there that haven't. And just the willingness to be involved, I suppose. Like, you know,
vehicles might break down.
Imagine like imagine it being like a little like a Top Gear esque road trip where things probably go wrong, you know, and it'll be a good test for them as well, because again, you know, like you get, you know, when adversity strikes, we need people who are able to like pitch in and help, and you know,
we enjoy that.
Yeah.
If someone sold me that and said, right, drive out to this place, the vehicle might break down, you might have an adventure, we don't know what's going to happen, I'd be like, that sounds great, I'm up for that. So,
and at the end of it, you get to have a day on the firing range, learning a new skill.
Yeah.
You know, a new bit of information, a new bit of, you know.
And I think it's worth mentioning as well, again, we don't know exactly yet, this isn't 100%, but cost-wise to them, we're thinking we can cover, it won't cost them to go out.
The travel won't cost them anything.
We'll fly them back will be covered. Accommodation whilst we're there, we're pretty sure that will be
covered by the guys. Yeah.
We might subsidise or be able to subsidise. Say if we have to stop on the way out on the drive, we might be able to subsidise those costs. But maybe that's an area they might have to chip in on.
Maybe, yeah. We'll see what the costs are like.
And food.
Yeah, and the food side of things is not a huge thing to overcome, is it? Because to be honest, like we you know, we'll all eat together. It's a bit of a bonding experience for everybody. So we'll get meals and stuff, and
just what more from the angle of like, we can't 100% guarantee it's going to cost them nothing.
Oh yeah, I suppose like the bare minimum of living, I suppose, is probably they'll have to be able to like sustain themselves so they don't starve to death. But like, you know,
in return you will get something that cost us thousands of pounds to do when we did our, you know, even if you go and do one of these courses where you go to Poland to say, for example, on the firing range.
Yeah, the firing range type of stuff. Yeah, you've got to fly out there. You've got to, you know,
they're like 800 quid.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
So it will be an opportunity for you to do that for far, far, far cheaper. Even if you do have to spend some money in some areas, we're going to try and keep it as low as possible.
Getting your snacks and whatnot. So
that's it. But I think it's worth noting, like, we can't guarantee that it's going to be 100% free. To them.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, even if you fly out to a job, you've got to buy your dinner in the airport. Like,
Yeah, like what we wouldn't want is someone to go, oh, my train ticket to get to the airport
or point or whatever.
We'd like you to sort of cover.
Got to be meet us halfway with
because we would subsidise a huge amount of it. And also, I think, like we say, we want people from all walks of life. Like, no one's going to be,
there's not
turned away.
It doesn't have to be a case of I've done the, I mean, brilliant if you've had loads of life experience and you're comfortable and you're confident and you are capable. And that's but it don't. There's no. I don't think we don't have to send a CV in to do it. I think it's just more of a case of have you got the time to do it? Have you got the willingness to do it? Do you feel that you're capable of doing it? And like that thing of like getting on the journey out, be involved. If we get a flat tire, I kind of want every single person there hiking that tire off and
that's
going,
it. Because that's part of what the course is going to be like. And we want people that would want that element of adventure and that sort of thing. Like, I think the other thing to note as well is like. We don't. Again, we're not going to turn anyone away, but what we don't want it to be is just like security or ex-mil type people, in the sense of, because this stuff, I think people, like, I'm just saying, I've got friends, right, that are
working offices that can
work in offices. There's a few people I've got in mind that might be up for this kind of thing, and I think they would be, potentially up for it. But I think if they see it, as like, I'm trying to think of an example, but airsoft. I do airsoft, and I've said to them, come along. It's like paintball. And they're like, oh no, because they think everyone there's going to be like sass or something. The image of what it is and the way it looks is quite off-putting to it. And I'm kind of going, if you were there, you would soon realise, oh, it's not that. I want to break that down, and I wouldn't want to like put anyone off who would be really good for it, really keen for it, because they're worried
it's going to be for like special forces type. No. But we're not special forces people, are we? Like we're two security guards.
No, but we know that, and we're not scared of putting ourselves in that environment. I know there's a lot of people that are going to go, oh, well, this isn't for me because it's just going to be for you and your security mates.
It's more. To be honest, it's more for the adventurous types of people that we know.
I want an ex-DJ.
An ex-DJ, a photographer,
whatever.
As long as you keep
media,
influencer or whatever. Not influencer, because maybe if it's money, but
but
it's the more adventurous people that you want to tailor it to and put out to, because just because you're a ex-mil CP guy doesn't mean that you can. When the sump on the vehicle cracks and you got to get under there and get covered in grease, and not everyone wants to do that.
They don't want to do it. We've seen them not capable of doing it. And then also, I think there's a lot of options for people like that. They're already in that kind of world. They can go to. A mate I think of comes to mind. He's gone and done these Poland shooting courses. He knows how to get access to them. He knows he can go do this kind of stuff all day long. He maybe wants to go and do it to get some sort of certificate.
The box to go and get a job. And whatever.
He also does do it, I think, for fun. But this kind of stuff it's accessible to him. Whereas I think that there's a couple of other friends that come to mind that aren't in that world, world where they would want to do this, but maybe there's nothing that's been like marketed to them. It's been sold as like, Spartan tactical range day.
Yeah.
You know, it's so they
everyone in fatigues and
that puts them off. And I think if it was more of like an adventure sport kind of vibe, they would be more relaxed and go, oh, that's something I could do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we want to offer. Like, and which sort of brings us on to the rebranding of and the structure we're thinking of Always the Bad Guys. And that is that ultimately, I guess the way we were doing things before is we're having 90 Degrees as the top sort of brand, and these other things branched off from it. Whereas now, I guess we're having them as sort of separate elements. Like 90 Degrees is its own thing.
Yeah.
Always the Bad Guys is like our kind of media.
Yeah.
That's our platform to talk about everything that we do.
Yeah.
Through these podcasts, through our social media. Always the Bad Guys is more you and me.
Yeah.
You know, and then this course experience that we're going to do is going to be its own branded element. Yeah. So it's not an Always the Bad Guys thing.
Entity. No.
It's its own separate company, if you will.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it on Always the Bad Guys. We can promote it through Always the Bad Guys, but it's going to be its own sort of like separate thing. Yeah. So
I say in that, you know, in some respects, to try and disconnect the security side of things, so people don't assume that you have to be a security operator to come on this course. You say you can work in an office, you can be in construction, you can do. But if you're interested in doing something, then that's that. You know, like it's that. You know, it hopefully opens up the accessibility to people that want to do it, that have never known how to do it before. You know, so and you know, I mean, you can go and do, in some respects, you know, you can go and do yoga retreats in Portugal, and you can go and do Thai boxing in Thailand. You can go and do, you know, jiu-jitsu out in Brazil on these like packages. And realistically, what we're trying to do is, in some respects, a very similar, very accessible package for people who have got an interest in going to do some sort of like tourist style retreat, but it involves firearms training, first aid, combatives.
Take a little
bit of each, and you know, turn it. You know, I mean, you know, put people up in 5-star hotels if that's what we want to do. And you know, so some, you know, there's been elements of like discussion around like the survival tactic stuff, and you know, so it's a retreat to make, you know, to put you out of your comfort zone, but knowing that you know that this, it ultimately makes you into a more resilient, more capable human. So yeah, I think you know, that's kind of the plan with it. And then again, like the initial task of driving out and doing that, that's our promotional side of things, and we can do that with Always the Bad Guys. We'll do that behind the scenes, and you know, when they see us break down the side of the road and stuff, you'll be there with a camera documenting, no doubt. Yeah. Or getting stopped by the police or whatever we end up doing. You know, but yeah, so I think the people that would be interested in coming on the initial road trip, they don't have to be, you know, operators from special forces. Like, just say, you know, if you've got an interest in this sort of stuff, then come and do it. And you know, obviously, yeah, we probably can't carry people. So if there's, you know, if you've not got a driving license, if you've not driven on the wrong side of the road, if you've not, you know, you don't know, you don't know how to change a tire, you know, that kind of thing might not be for you. But if it is for you and you want to, I mean, even just going to the Czech Republic's an experience. I love the Czech Republic, so.
Well, I think that's the thing, is as much as we want people to come on it, we are going to be selective.
Of course, yeah.
Because I think, you know, our plans are that we're going to be selective for this road trip recce.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be selective when it comes to the course itself.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want, it's so, obviously safety concerns, but it's rife for like abuse if the wrong type of people come on it. Yeah, people, I think it has to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that there are, types of people.
What you're saying is no stag do's.
People could spoil it. You know, it's not meant to be like a lols holiday where you come along and prat around. We want you to have a good time.
Yeah.
But it's like, it would ruin it for the people on there that are taking it seriously.
Yeah.
If we just let anyone and everyone
turn up, come on. Yeah.
I think, you know, there will be some vetting process.
There has to be. There has to be because of the nature of what we're doing anyway. So there would be a vetting process in place for people who are interested. You can express your interest, and we can, you know, run through a vetting process. And obviously, we're not, you know, this isn't something that we're looking at doing every 2 weeks. You know, just because of the nature of it, it'll be, you know, there'll be a spacing element. We have to, you know, booking X amount of people on a course for a certain date in the future, and you know, we can filter out people that aren't necessarily suited to it, or we don't feel you know, I don't know, we'd have to come up with some criteria maybe, but yeah, there's got to be that element of it. So there's got to be an element of people that, it's got to be people, just because you can afford to come on it doesn't mean that you should come on it. Exactly. So but yeah, that's one element of it. Oh, and also just to quickly harp back on the road trip. You have to be a capable traveller.
Yeah.
One of the biggest bugbears I've had over the time, obviously taking people out to various countries in Europe and further afield. You have to be able to, like, even flying back from Prague to the UK, like, you've got to be able to get through an airport. You've got to be able to get your boarding pass. You've got to be able to, because we can't babysit that stuff.
No, they've said, you know, we've had before, we've put in the job description, must be competent traveller. And they've gone, and then they go, I haven't had a flight in like
10 years. Yeah, last time I flew to anywhere was 10 years ago.
I don't know how to get my check-in boarding pass. And we're like,
what's the baggage limit, and what's this, and will this bag do, and will that do, and this do, and you're like,
I know, I'm like...
It's like, you know, so I mean, you know, I go through an airport like I go through, you know, get on
bus
on
or
a
something.
bus.
Yeah, I know, it's like...
You know, got everything ready to go, laptops out, liquids are out, this is out, that, ready to roll.
If something major happens, like we say, a flat tyre, we'll all muck in, but we will help.
Yeah.
You know, in that kind of, because that's a big thing. But it's like, yes, we're capable of helping someone if their bag gets lost.
Yeah.
We're capable of helping someone if their boarding pass
hasn't arrived or whatever. Yeah,
but we'd like them to just deal with that themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're going to come out on a course because you think that you're good enough to learn
these things,
the tough things of life,
getting there is part of it.
We shouldn't have to babysit you for figuring out how to sort out your boarding pass or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you should be able to do that on your own. So that's where we said the selective element. And then also it's like, you know, this podcast, we'll be putting promos and adverts and things out to recruit people, but also through this podcast, you know, this is our casting call, you know, where we're basically saying, if you're listening to this and you think it might be for you, get in touch.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, but yeah, we can put a bit more focus on recruiting people for this road trip at some point. As soon as we've got some dates and stuff, we'll get more detail out.
Because we can roughly say it's probably going to be April, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beginning sort of April or something.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
We'll pin the dates down closer to the time, but at the moment, like, it's looking like a week.
Ish in April.
A week-ish in April.
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't matter where you are in the country. You might just have to make your way to a point to meet us with the vehicles.
Because the other thing we've ended up doing is we appear to be the UK sourcing for the vehicles. So me and you are going to organise the vehicles and get them to a central location, and then from there we'll make sure they're road ready, and we'll give that location to whoever we decide, and they make their way there. We'll obviously have a support vehicle. One of the plans is to take a support vehicle with us.
Top Gear's the best. You know the way they meet, don't they? They go, we were told to meet at 1 p.m. at the Bristol dock or something, you know, and it's like... So basically, if you can make your way to that location, knowing at that time we're going to depart.
Yeah.
And then the adventure begins.
Yeah. And then we'll see what happens. So yeah, ultimately, if anyone's interested and has listened to us ramble on for an hour and wants to get involved, then I suppose Instagram's the best place.
Instagram.
Or if you know us personally and you think you can get in contact personally,
slide into the DMs.
Yeah.
That's it.
And yeah, we can we'll go from there, and we'll get a few more details out and start recruiting. So cool.
Yeah, I think that's a decent enough breakdown.
Yeah.
For podcast one of the plan.
If you need every single detail to the second, you might not be the person for the
yeah. That's it.
We don't know every single detail to the second yet. So, but yeah, it'll be an interesting journey. It'll be an interesting adventure. And yeah, ultimately get out on the range and get a day's shooting done. And
can I add as well? I've just thought another very, very important requirement: no camera shy people.
No camera shy people. Must have a passport.
Must have a passport.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, we have to film the hell out of this journey in order to promote the actual thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be, I don't want to be a camera mate.
Yeah.
I can't be dealing with any of that.
Yeah, no. That's it. Yeah.
You have to be.
It's part of the deal is that it's going to be filmed. It's going to be I'm me mate. I'm not I had to learn to be on camera. And so if you're hiding from some entity, Interpol or something, and you don't want to be on social media, probably not for you.
Or your missus or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
No, you're going to be filmed.
Yeah. And again, ultimately, it may come to it, but if you already have the ability to do social media or you've done social media, it's a benefit to us. Get involved and if you've got a social media presence, then we want to hear from them people as well. And but yeah, just happy with normal, capable people. So
definitely.
Cool. Right.
Cool. I think we'll wrap it up for this one.
Yeah.
And we'll try and do another one soon.
Yeah.
Maybe go into a bit more detail with a few updates.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Cool.